What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I'm Daniel Oyefusi. That is David Neal. Thanks so much for tuning in. Quick reminder before we start, make sure to subscribe to the Miami Herald YouTube page, like, share, comment, all that good stuff, as well as subscribe to the Miami Herald. Ladies and gentlemen, starting to pick up, starting to get some news, starting to get some developments. We're about a week away from the start of the new league year, the start of free agency. And like I said, we got some interesting developments with at the time of our recording Tuesday, the 4 p.m. franchise tag deadline is passed. And the Dolphins, excuse me, the Dolphins did not use the franchise tag as expected, but the tag was placed on some other players around the league who may be linked to the Dolphins, maybe not. So we definitely got to talk about that as well as the release or the impending release of Byron Jones with that news coming out Tuesday. But as I said before, we're going to start with the franchise tag deadline. And while the Dolphins didn't use it, the Baltimore Ravens did on their MVP quarterback, Lamar Jackson. They used a non-exclusive franchise tag, a one-year deal that ties him to the team with the price tag of $32 million. Now, I bring this up because the non-exclusive franchise tag, as opposed to the exclusive franchise tag, allows a team to negotiate a deal with Lamar, sign him to a deal, and if the Ravens don't match that deal, the Ravens could get two first-round picks for Lamar. Now, this is where it gets interesting, so stay with me. In order to complete this deal, the team would have to give up a 2023 first round pick and a 2024 first round pick. Now, if you haven't been living under a rock, if you've been listening to this podcast, reading the Miami Herald, you know the Dolphins. Even if you're just the Dolphins fans, you know the Dolphins do not have a first round pick. Matter of fact, they're supposed to have two, but we know they don't have any. The first one they lost it last summer, tampering, Tom Brady, Sean Payton. The league said, give me that first round pick. So they were down to one. A couple months later, they gave the second first round pick to the Denver Broncos for the trade that brought in outside linebacker Bradley Chubb. So the Dolphins, they got nothing to work with. However, this is where it gets interesting. So stick with me. If for some reason Lamar never signed that offer sheet, if this dragged on till after the draft in April, uh, there is a slight chance that Dolphins could sign an offer sheet. Uh, Lamar could, agree to that deal, and then the Dolphins could give up picks in 2024 and 2025. Now, again, if you haven't been living under a rock, if you've been reading the Miami Herald, if you've been on Twitter, if you've been paying attention to the news, um, among several teams that are reportedly not interested in Lamar Jackson, the Dolphins are among those teams, with ESPN reporting that they're not expected to pursue Lamar Jackson or any other starting quarterbacks this offseason. Tua is their guy. And that obviously lines up with what we've been reporting, what we've been saying, reporting the Dolphins decision makers, general manager Rich Greer, head coach Mike McDaniel. All of them have said that they want Tua to be around here for 2023 and beyond. So this just kind of jives and lines up with what they've been saying. But the question is this the right decision? Now we know we've been talking about the 5th year option, the long-term deal. I know last week at the time that we had recorded, I was at the combine in Indy. We had just finished speaking to Mike McDaniel, who said that they're still mulling the 5th year option. But they want him to be here and be here for a long time. So the very next day on Wednesday, he spoke to Chris Greer and he echoed those comments. And he actually kind of went a little bit further when asked about Tua's injuries and whatnot and how that might deter him from committing long term. He said, I can't lie and say no, but it's not anything to the point that's gonna make us afraid to commit long term. He said Tua has bounced back from all of his injuries, and we expect him, to be good and play well for the years to come. So the one thing, the big takeaway from this is that the messaging is clear. Like last year, and even for the last year plus, honestly, probably since Tua has entered the league and been drafted by the Dolphins, there's been speculation about his job security in Miami. And I think that this is the first time, maybe since he's been drafted, where the messaging is clear. General manager from the head coach. It's taken a while, but we want Tua to be here. We want Tua to be here for a while, for a long time. Now, whether their actions actually line up with that in the coming months, we'll see. And I think it obviously starts with the fifth year option. It doesn't seem like, well, they really don't have the mechanisms to get Lamar. Because again, you can say one thing and act another way, but they don't even have the mechanisms to get Lamar. So to me, that was never really a feasible plan, especially when you factor in the type of deal, reportedly a fully guaranteed deal, a la Deshaun Watson, that he would have been seeking. I mean, the Dolphins are over the cap. They just don't have the means to do it. But going back to Tua, it's a risk. We've talked about the risk, the injury risk, but it's a risk that I can get on board with because the messaging is clear and the vision is clear. If it blows up in your face in 2023, if he's not able to stay healthy, hey, maybe we can come back and say, should they have gone after this quarterback or this quarterback? But I like the messaging. I like the fact that they're staying behind him, they're committing to him. We'll see what happens with the fifth year option. I mean, we can debate that from now until the May 2 deadline. Um, I'd like to see them pick it up because I think we just saw a situation with the Giants and Daniel Jones where they didn't pick it up, and now they're on the hook for about $40 million a year, $82 million guaranteed in the first 2 years, when they could have been getting ready to see him play his fifth year option out. It's a risk to take, both ways. But I would like to see them pick up that fifth year option. But I do like the messaging, and I do like the way that they're starting off this offseason, this free agency period. We're like, hey, Tua is our quarterback. We're not going to entertain that. We're going to continue to build around him and see where that goes. What do you think about the Dolphins being out on Lamar Jackson, being all in on Tua and moving forward with him this offseason?
Well, I think when you don't have if you don't have the money, you don't go into the Mercedes dealership. You know, you can sit there and look at the window and pass by and kind of wonder about it, but don't go wasting everybody's time.
They can't get a loan. They can't.
um, this is unfortunately, this is not a situation where you can get loans. It's the loan doesn't cut it. It's not even Amscott. um, so yeah, I mean, the shenanigans the Dolphins would have to not shenanigans. The
the
all the
the
stuff that the Dolphins
hurdles,
would
the
have to
hurdles,
go
yeah.
through to get 2 first-round picks, and then let's do after you go through all that, now you're going to spend all this money on Lamar. You're out. You're out. Just accept it and move on. Should they always be looking at upgrading the position? Of course they should be. I think
Hmm.
I think that you should, unless you have, unless you have this, you 100% know he's the guy, and he's proven it a little bit, or so with some form of playoff success. I think you always have to look at upgrading that position if there's a possibility out there, to continue the car metaphor, the old kick the tires, make a phone call to an agent, call a team, ask. You always have to do that. um I think that it's good that it has to be good for Tua that the outward messaging is, you know, what they're telling everybody else is, you're our guy. We're in this with you. You don't need to you don't need to worry. You don't need looking over your shoulder. Um, you're the guy. But behind the scenes, you should always be you should always be looking to improve yourself, unless, again, like I said, you have a proven, solid commodity. I think that's true in any business. You
Yeah.
have If you have, in our business, if you have a great NFL reporter, or you're great, and you see another NFL beat reporter who might be coming free, you to me, it's your duty. Hey, or do you think that who you think will be an upgrade? You have it's your duty to call, put a call in and say, hey, what you thinking now? How'd you like to live here? How'd you like to, what are you thinking? Unless you have, again, a guy who, you know, done it for a while, had a good amount of success, then you say, okay, we're we're fine, you know. But like I say, that's any business should, you have to, until you are like one of the proven best at your position, or person who operates going to operate the best in that position, in that company, in that company scheme, you should always expect that your company is looking to upgrade.
Dang, I hope you're not foreshadowing anything about my job security.
No,
I hope
no.
I'm a Heroes franchise guy. Like, but no, but seriously, though, I mean, one thing that that we kind of and you can read it on the Miami Herald that um Barry Jackson and I mentioned in the improbable way the Dolphins could land Lamar Jackson is, I mean, what if he wants to come here? I mean, we saw that a year ago. Obviously, different situations with Deshaun Watson and all the legal issues that he had, but Deshaun Watson, by all accounts, wanted to come to Miami. I mean, what if Lamar Jackson wants to come to Miami? I mean, you have a MVP quarterback who's a Pompano native. He's from South Florida. If he wants to come here, is that something that you entertain, or do you say no? I mean, Tua is our guy, because I think that I agree with you that while Tua has played well, the injuries are obviously still a concern. And again, you're right. Unless you have that bona fide franchise guy that is 100% 100% your guy, um, I understand why you'd still quote unquote kick the tires. But like I said, I think that they are going the right way about it in terms of committing publicly to Tua. And truthfully, again, I never thought that getting Lamar or maybe getting Aaron Rodgers was feasible. So it wasn't something that I really entertained. But again, when you have a guy that's more or less available, if he wants to come to you, do you have to entertain it anymore?
Well, okay, you can still listen and say, okay, you want to come here. It doesn't change what the Dolphins have to do to get him here. He's not giving the Dolphins a home team discount.
That we know of.
No, no, no. He's not doing that. This isn't that situation. So that doesn't change. So and then uh, I mean, Lamar's a tremendous quarterback, and he's been an MVP. Um, you know, am I going to get 17 games out of him?
Well, that's
Uh,
the question now. That's the question now after the past 2 years. And
uh-huh.
if you're moving on, if you're
Exactly. So if I,
the question too is durability. I mean, that is something that
right,
you have to
right.
question as well.
So now I got the same question. Oh, I got a better guy. But am I going to have? I got the same question if I'm going to have that better guy on in that on 17 Sundays, or Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, whatever the heck.
Yeah,
So I got that same question. Ah, no, that's a lot of hoops to jump through to have the same question.
yeah,
So okay, Lamar, okay, you want to come here? Some people want to date Ms. Olympia. Let's see who gets lucky first. It's not happening. So, that's you know
yeah. I mean, as of now, the Dolphins publicly, they're saying all the right things publicly. They're committing to Tua
yeah.
for this year. They hope beyond, and they're moving forward with the offseason. They're getting closer to the offseason. Like I said, they've made a couple moves today. They're expected to make another move with Byron Jones that we're definitely going to talk about on the other side of things. We're going to talk about the Byron Jones cut, impending cut, how that may change their offseason priorities, and kind of ranking those needs after this latest move. So we're going to take a short break, but stay locked with us and we'll be back soon. What's going on, everybody? Back here on the Dolphins In Depth podcast, talking all things Dolphins with David Neal. And while we talked about some tangential Dolphins news in the first half with the franchise tag, Dolphins saying that they're not going to be pursuing Lamar Jackson or any other starting quarterback, sticking with Tua. The Dolphins did, in fact, make their own moves on Tuesday. First off, in kind of a cost, or in one of two cost-saving moves, they cut tight end Cethan Carter, placed a tender on exclusive rights for agent Elijah Campbell. That's just one of a few kind of housekeeping moves for the Dolphins as they try to get under the cap so they can make some moves. But the big move that came out or is coming out is the Dolphins informing Byron Jones that they're going to be releasing him next week so he can become a free agent. And this move will free up about $13 million for the Dolphins. However, they won't be able to use it until after June 1 because it's a post-June 1 destination. If you want to read more about that, definitely go to my Miami Herald website where I broke all of that down. However, I want to touch on that move, that impending move with cutting Byron Jones because we've talked about Byron Jones all season. Missed the 2022 season because of or in the aftermath of offseason leg surgery that he had last March. I mean, he didn't speak all year, but he finally broke his silence about a week ago when he wrote on Twitter that he can't run or jump because of the injuries he sustained in the NFL. When we spoke to Chris Greer at the combine last Wednesday, he said that he has a great relationship with Byron Jones, his agent, the training staff, and whatnot, but he didn't commit to Byron Jones being on the team in 2023, which I mean he didn't commit either way, but I thought that was very telling because one thing that I've noticed not only from Chris Greer but a lot of decision makers and officials across the league is when you speak to them they might not tell you the full truth, they might not outright tell you something, but they'll be forthcoming when they want to, and they will withhold information when they want to. I remember last year when we were asking Chris Greer about Xavier Howard, and he said, that he was going through kind of not a contract dispute, but it was widely known that he wanted to redo his contract. And Chris Greer he did not hide it. He said, I expect Xavier Howard to be on our team in 2023 or 2022, that was. But now with the Byron Jones situation, kind of some, just a lot of unknowns with the situation. He didn't commit to him being on the team. Obviously, they've reached a resolution now where they're going to cut him. They're going to move on and save some cap space down the line because of it. But it goes back to the Dolphins' offseason needs. They lose a cornerback, or I guess now they know for sure that they need a cornerback. That's among the many offseason needs that the Dolphins have. And it's kind of weird, with this being a playoff team from the previous season, by having so many needs. I mean, they don't have a lot of guys under contract. They don't have a lot of money. I mean, I can just kind of go down the list. They got to bring in a backup quarterback. They got to sign a couple running backs. They have to sign another tight end. They might have to sign a starting right tackle because their right tackle, Austin Jackson, has not been healthy and has not been very good in his early career. They got to sign some inside linebackers. They got to sign some quarterbacks. You might have to sign another safety. And again, with Byron Jones officially not being in their plans for 2023, you might be able to throw a cornerback at the top of the list. When I wrote my takeaways from the combine, I wrote that I think it could and it likely will be a very, very busy offseason on defense. Last year it was very clear they wanted to upgrade the offense. You bring in Tyreek Hill, you bring in a couple running backs that McDaniel knows from San Francisco. You bring in Teron Armstead, Connor Williams. You bring in a lot of guys. I mean, they completely overhauled the offense. New head coach, new offensive minded guy. You get the guys to fit that vision.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the same with Vic Fangio coming in as defensive coordinator. But the question is, like, where do you go? I mean, right now the Dolphins are going to have some money because they have to have some money ahead of next week. I guess it's 4 p.m. Wednesday when everything opens up officially. But the question is, like, how are they going to use it? And I remember a couple of weeks ago I was saying I'd like to get, if I was the Dolphins, I'd like them to get a nice inside linebacker to kind of be the leader of that defense. But I don't know if you can go into. I mean, you can't go into your season with only Xavier Howard and Cater Kohu as I guess your bona fide established cornerbacks. I mean, Xavier Howard's just coming off of an injury-riddled season. Cater Kohu looked really good, but after that, you really don't have anything. I mean, Nick Needham is coming off the torn Achilles. Could be back, but it's a torn Achilles. I mean, you don't know how guys come back off of that. So I do wonder, like, maybe you do kind of stock up on cornerback. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a system where you need like absolutely great cornerbacks. But if anything, if last year showed us anything, it's how not having enough cornerbacks can kind of derail that your defense to an extent. So I mean, what do you think? Does this news kind of put cornerback at top of the list? Do you still think that they need to prioritize another position when free agency starts?
I don't think it changes much. I mean, what we thought Byron Jones was going to be back.
I mean, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it, but now it's official.
We knew what the deal was. We knew what the deal. We've been new. They say, come on now. We. I don't think it changes much. I don't think it changes anything. He's okay. He's gone. He's definitely gone. Um, I yeah, I do think you need in today's NFL. I think you better have three solid corners at least. Um, because boy, if you don't, they'll find that weak corner. You have two solid corners and one e. You know, everybody will find that e, and you're gonna be So you need three. They need three solid corners. And you know, again, it. You're thinking about this division you know, that you're in. That I don't know, but the Patriots really, you know, bother me or scare me. But look, if the Jets ever figure out their quarterback situation,
You're talking to
then
Aaron Rodgers, so I mean,
they've got other things on that offense that healthy they can be some those they can be a problem, and that defense is a problem. So you got those guys, and you got the Josh Allen deal in Buffalo, and you know they they can throw the ball all day. They could run their running games, but so their whole thing is throwing the ball, and if you want to slow them down or not be sitting there at the end of the game hoping you can stop a 90-yard drive, you better have at least a few corners. So
but I'm trying to
I
remember
don't
a
I don't
couple
know that
weeks.
it changes anything. Like I still think if you're gonna
If you're Chris Greer and free agency opens and you're like, all right, we gotta add. I mean, they're probably gonna add multiple guys, but if you gotta prioritize getting an impact guy at one position, I mean, you're getting a cornerback, you're getting a middle linebacker, you're getting the safety. Or I'm
I,
trying to remember what you said a couple weeks ago. You said running back was their top
no.
leader.
Whoa,
I'm trying to
no.
remember. I'm trying to remember.
I think maybe I said right tackle. I don't know.
Right tackle, yeah.
But but
On defense,
but
what
but
spot are
if
you
you
trying to target?
either way, also the thing with free agency, again, it's the same thing as the draft. Let's look at what's there. Let's look at the crop. You don't want to look at the relative crops, and you don't want to you don't want to pull a Neil O'Donnell, like when the Jets overpaid for him at quarterback because he was like the only, you know, he was the best quarterback of a very weak free agent class. They'd been better off saying, okay, forget that. Let's draft a quarterback. You know, let's look at the crop of free agent corners you have. Look at what you have free agent wise at inside linebacker. Look at what you have at right tackle in free agency. How much and are those positions worth the money that those players are going to want? And if you don't think you're going to get that kind of money if you don't think you're going to get your money's worth out of it, you know, do
No,
fight for
that
those
makes
positions
sense.
in the draft. And also you also have to look at the draft. What's your opinion about the corners, those players at those positions in the draft? And I'm of the belief that just like it seems like every year you're going to have you seem to have a lot of good wide receivers coming out. I think you pretty much these days have a lot of good defensive backs coming out because colleges are having to do the same thing that the NFL is. And so, I think maybe you can hold off on corner until the draft. Um,
There's one, so you didn't answer the question though. If there's one position on defense, you're saying I want to get a guy.
I
I
got
think I think they're gonna have options at
I
all. I think they're
I
gonna have
got
options at safety, middle linebacker, and cornerback. There's
I
some guys
have
that
to
got released, but
I have to shore up the second. I had to shore up my secondary. I did. You just had to shore up the secondary.
okay.
I think you have
Safety,
to.
cornerback, you don't care either way.
Yeah. I mean, I think one way or another, you got to shore up the secondary just because you can't. I think they they're pretty. I think they're good enough at stopping the run.
Yeah, the
But
front is good for
you
sure.
just have, but you have to have guys who can cover for long enough, and um, they kind of, you know, right now they don't think they do,
Yeah.
and they don't have guys who can cover long enough in this division. I don't know if they go to the South, and you probably you can cover those guys there, except for maybe Jacksonville, I guess. But um, yeah, I I want to show up for secondary first,
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
then and then I can upgrade as needed elsewhere on the defense. Um, but I also think what's the right tackle market like, either in the draft or free agency, and that's again because you have to have that taken care of. But that is that's your off injured quarterback's blind side. So
Yeah. No,
you might want to nail that down, so he can be cool in the pocket for the 2.5 seconds that he's going to be back there before Jalen or Tyreek or whoever breaks open. And so yeah.
yeah, I asked Chris Greer about middle linebacker, excuse me, and safety specifically at the combine. And he said, yeah, obviously we got a lot of, at linebacker, we got a lot of free agents, so we got to add some depth there. At safety, we got to add some depth, and he's like, we're gonna do that. So again, I think that it could definitely be a big offseason for some big defensive changes. So we'll see there. Before we get out, I want to bring up one more thing to you. And based off your reaction to a comment that I made earlier, I have a feeling I know how you're going to respond. Been some rumors about, maybe some running backs becoming available. Obviously, I believe Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and Tony Pollard, all pending free agent running backs, got placed with some type of franchise tag, so they're not going to be available. But there's some kind of rumors, rumblings about maybe Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry being available, some other potential running backs that the Dolphins could target in free agency. Um, is there any way, or should the Dolphins target, a big name at a running back at all under any circumstances? I say no because I know I've seen a lot of Dolphins fans talking about the possibility of having Derrick Henry back there with Tyreek and Jen, and that'd be crazy. But I don't know. I think that I don't think you don't need a bell cow. You don't need a guy to carry the ball 25, 30 times a game. I think you just need efficiency. And I think particularly you need improvements in the offensive line to really maximize the running game. I know Chris Greer said that that he said that the organization is open to bringing back Mostert and Wilson. And I think it's a good chance that they run it back with those guys. But I think they played really well. I think they ran really well. Are they top tier type running backs? No, but I don't think you need a top tier running back. I think you just need an efficient running game. And I think that at times the Dolphins had that, but at times they didn't. I think that this is an offense that is best when it's built around Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, getting the ball to them as much as possible. And in certain situations when you need the balance, when you need to run the clock out, when you need to run the ball in certain situations, having that ability to do that. Um, if somehow again, it always depends on I think it's always about value. Like you mentioned it before, getting value in the draft, getting value in free agency. If you can get a nice deal for a guy, or maybe you're not paying as much, maybe you don't have to give up as much, relative to what you think you usually would go for it. But in terms of like the way this offense is built, I like that it's built around Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And the Dolphins do need to add to like they need to add a tight end and whatnot. But in terms of like going out and searching for like a big name running back, to kind of complement the offense. I don't think it's necessary. Like it'd be great, but I think it'd be like a more of a luxury than a necessity. What do you think?
I'm not, uh, being a running back's second team in this league these days, ooh, that's awful tough. Especially like what I like about Derek, like I would like about Derrick Henry in the Dolphins offense is it'll be such a like gear shift, play to play. Okay, are we gonna get pounded? We gotta get this guy trying to get this guy downhill um quickly, or are we gonna get are we gonna have to be chasing these guys, these small, fast guys around the field and worrying about, them catching a 10-yard, pass and going 60 with it? Are we, just it adds another completely different element,
To the offense,
a real
yeah,
serious power element. And I think the 4-minute drill at the end of games gets a lot easier,
for
right?
sure, for sure.
Um, that said, uh, Derrick Henry is a running back who I think can fall off. And I might be wrong about this. I might be completely wrong about this. And, he might come out here run for 15, 1,600 yards this year. And, but there seems like that he dishes out a lot of punishment. He takes a lot too. And I don't know that he works best in an offense unless he's getting, 20 some carries a game. And I don't know that he's going to get that in this offense. And I don't know that if he gets those 20 some carries each game, I don't know what Derrick Henry I'm going to be getting after Thanksgiving. Um, I'm not crazy about the whole big name running back thing in unless un, unless as they're when you're talking about guys especially who are nearing 30 or so 31. It's a tough position to play in this league for a long time these days, even though teams don't run the ball as they don't pound the rock the way they once did. Yeah, there are some teams that do and have a very run centric kind of thing going on, but the guys hitting them on the defensive side, they keep getting bigger and faster. So it doesn't take as many hits to wear down a guy and put a lot of wear on his treads for his career. And unless you're unless you're really getting the good value, it's you got other places to spend money and fill holes. I don't want to be dismissive and say this isn't fantasy football, but it's not. And you have other places to fill holes.
Yeah.
So, just figure something else out with that. I mean, you know, find some big fast guy and spend a 7th round pick on him. Whatever. You know, um, but yeah, not crazy about the idea of a lot of what is out there is for the Dolphins in that market.
Yeah, the Dolphins haven't shown a big commitment in recent years to, spending on a running back. They haven't drafted a running back in the first 3 rounds of the draft since 2016 when they selected Kenyon Drake. If you look at the past couple of years, I mean, it's been a lot of undrafted free agents, late round picks, mid round picks. Ryan Fitzpatrick 1 year leading the team in rushing, but hey, you say you get what you pay for, so maybe they do need to change the philosophy just a little bit. We'll see if they do that in free agency or the draft, but they definitely got to improve the running game if they want to take that offense to the next level. So we'll see again. We'll see what they do. Free agency officially opens 4 p.m. next Wednesday. The legal tampering window when you can, I mean, I guess it's kind of an oxymoron, legal tampering, but the legal tampering window that opens Monday. We're gonna have we're gonna have a ton of news in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. So as always, stay tuned to the Miami Herald. Catch up on all of our combine content from the past week in Indy on the site, and we'll definitely keep it rolling for you as the Dolphins start to make some moves in the offseason.
Although we might stay with the off-season backgrounds here. It's off-season. You're only getting so much out of this.
Yeah, I might have to. I gotta get one of those nice little green screen. I'm gonna have to, upgrade the background. But
You had a nice one last year during the season. What happened to that, man?
yeah, we're on the road. We're on the road, so we gotta go with what we got. But yeah, we're working on it right now. We're working with the technical producer on. All right. Yeah, well, that brings us to the end of another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I want to thank you guys as always. Subscribe to Miami Herald YouTube page, subscribe to the Miami Herald, like, share, comment. As I said before, off season really getting rolling next week. We're gonna have a ton of content on all the Dolphins moves and more. So we'll be back next week to talk more Dolphins football, preview the start of free agency, give our predictions for the off season. But until then, you guys take care.
Again.
Yeah.
Still.